Home and away spoilers follow for UK viewers. Here's a full collection of 15 massive moments. You can also check out our collection of 30 spoiler pictures from these episodes. 1. Leah and Justin are heartbroken. Leah is struggling with the fact that Theo's mum Cassandra blames her for his death and has banned her from attending the funeral. Worried, Justin floats the idea of grief counseling, but Leah shuts this down and continues to spiral. Overwhelmed with grief, Leah becomes fixated on her last conversation with Theo and convinces herself that Cassandra is right, she should have done more to protect him. Justin reminds Leah that she did everything she could and urges her to get some rest. But once alone, Justin is left sitting with his own grief and breaks down. 2. Eden and Cash return to shock news. Eden and Cash are enjoying life in their newlywed bubble, until news of Theo's death reaches them. Devastated, Eden encourages Cash to go back to work to find the person responsible. At Salt, Eden bumps into Abigail, who keeps her in the dark about Mackenzie's miscarriage and the fact she is taken off to Queensland. 3. Cash and David make a breakthrough. At the police station, David updates Cash on the Wendell case, but they soon get a new lead. Wendell's payment card was used at a storage unit. Cash vows to get a search warrant and wonders if Counselor Wendell might turn up to Theo's funeral, given that they know he attended Christina's, despite being responsible for her death too. 4. Levi fears for his relationship. With Mac on her way to Queensland, Molly urges Levi not to follow her or update Dean on the miscarriage. Levi decides to stay put but does call Dean so that he can offer Mac the appropriate support instead. Levi continues to put on a brave face but is left hurt when he learns Mac has arrived in Queensland without having contacted him and begins to worry about their relationship. 5. Sunny supports Lacey. Sunny checks in on a grief-stricken Lacey, who is sitting alone on the beach. As they chat, Lacey explains that she feels undeserving of support, but Sunny disagrees. With Leah also struggling with her grief and not being able to attend Theo's funeral, Alf and Marilyn decide to arrange a private gathering to honor him instead. Sunny messages Lacey and urges her to attend as well, but she declines, knowing that she wouldn't be welcome. 6. David gets major news. Tensions are high as David and Cash turn up at Theo's funeral. When they spot Wendell's car, he ignores their signals, sparking a high-speed chase that ends on foot. David eventually pins Wendell down by the throat and Cash is forced to intervene. Back at the station, Cash tells David that Wendell's damaged car was found in his storage unit. He explains that this evidence is enough to put Wendell away for Theo's death, but they will still need a confession to charge him for Christina's death as well. 7. Leah lashes out at Lacey. Cash tells Lacey that David has arrested Counselor Wendell. Lacey turns up at Leah's to share this, but as previously suspected, she is not welcome. With emotions running high, a furious Leah tells Lacey that she will never forgive her for what happened to Theo, leaving her devastated. 8. David finally gets answers. David commences his interview with Wendell, who attempts to deny everything. Refusing to give up, David backs him into a corner, telling Wendell that the evidence is too strong and he's going to be found guilty either way. Wendell is eventually charged for Theo's death, and finally showing remorse, also confesses to killing David's wife Christina as well. Overcome with emotion, David is finally able to confront Wendell for answers on the tragedy that has haunted his family ever since. 9. Lacey struggles to move forward. After Wendell's confession, David charges him for both Theo and Christina's deaths. David later tells Joe and Lacey they need to try and move on with their lives now, but it's clear they aren't fully convinced. Lacey does, however, decide to move back in with David and Joe, but is overwhelmed by the thought of packing up her belongings. David and Joe support Lacey with the process and the trio share a touching moment. However, Joe privately worries about Lacey, aware of how much she is struggling. 10. Leah lashes out at Justin. Still reeling over her run-in with Lacey, Leah takes her anger out on Justin. Alf tries to intervene, and reminds Leah that Justin isn't the enemy and is grieving too. Leah acknowledges her mistake and later apologizes to Justin. However, realizing how much Leah needs him, Justin tells Remy and Sunny that he can't be involved in the record label anymore. 11. Harper makes a big decision. Harper is feeling more positive about life following a challenging few weeks, but is left with food for thought when Dana highlights Archie's lack of extended family. Later, Harper tells Dana that she is thinking about reaching out to their parents, for Archie's sake. Dana is horrified by the idea and instantly shuts the conversation down. With no help from Dana, Harper decides to speak to Tane instead. 12. Joe kisses Tane. Joe turns to Tane for support in the wake of recent events, but later worries she is relying on him too much. Tane insists that he wants to be there for her, prompting Joe to confide in him about missing her mom and not wanting to lean on her dad too much because Lacey needs him more. When Tane continues to support Joe ahead of a visit to her mom's grave, she eventually gives in to her feelings for him and they kiss. 13. Dana and Harper clash. Harper is cagey when Tane tries to find out more information about her estranged parents, and deliberately withholds specific details. Harper later meets with Dana, hoping to change her mind on the matter. However, Dana reiterates her disapproval and insists that she won't have their parents ruining their lives, or Archie's. 14. Eden makes a mistake. With Eden's suspicions rising about what's going on with Mac, she decides to confront Levi. Levi tells Eden about the miscarriage and Mac fleeing to Queensland without telling him. Eden urges him to reach out, but Levi refuses and insists on giving her space. Ignoring Levi's wishes, Eden pressures Molly into calling Mac instead. He agrees, but Eden hijacks the phone, prompting an angry Mac to hang up. Afterwards, Eden is forced to admit her mistake to Levi, who is left despairing. 15. Cash is faced with a dilemma. Tane presses Cash for information on Harper's family. Cash is reluctant at first but eventually shares Harper's dark family history, wanting to protect Archie. Rattled, Tane confronts Dana and explains that he is unsure if he wants these people in Archie's life. Harper storms off, but later shows up at Cash's, handing over her parents' details and asking him to check the police database. Cash is unsure, knowing he could get in serious trouble, but Harper eventually manages to convince him.